Hello, welcome attendees. As you are slowly coming in here, it does take a few moments for everyone to get into the webinar. So I'm going to kind of slowly welcome you and go over some important things. And I also put it in the chat for you as well, so you'll understand how you can ask questions and a little bit more of the logistics of this webinar. So welcome to this virtual panel. If you would like to ask a question, this part is really important. You have to find the Q&A button. It's either at the top or at the bottom usually. If you have a question for all the panelists or just one of them, you just need to click on that button. You can type it again to just one person, or it can be a blanket question to all of them. They will be able to see that and answer that throughout this 45-minute session. They cannot see any of the attendees out there. They cannot hear you. So that Q&A button is very important. There are more sessions and more panels later this evening and tomorrow. A recording of this will be available usually less than a week, only just a few days usually, at strivescan.com/CACHET. And with that, we are going to kick it off to our panelists.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, and thanks everyone for being here and joining us for this session. We're really excited to talk with you. My name is Bob McCullough, and I work at Case Western Reserve University. I'll be moderating this panel discussion today. You're going to hear from four representatives from four terrific colleges and universities, but you know, this session is not about us selling you on how great our schools are. You'll find that on another channel. But instead, we're here to talk about the impact of STEM in more broad terms. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get things started here. So there we go. That's me there, and off I go there. Excellent. So obviously, lots of really terrific reasons to pursue a STEM degree. You know, of course, there's as we said in the description, prestigious jobs that you can go and find that there's lots of job opportunities and perhaps high-paying salaries. You know, financial security that that maybe your parents might be really excited about for you. Perhaps you've just demonstrated an aptitude for STEM. You're good at math and science. You're a hands-on kind of person, and so all of those things are true. But there's an even more important reason, and that's why you're here today, to learn more about ways that you can make a difference. That the time that you spend here on this planet, your life, your contributions can leave something better than how you found it. You can make a difference in an individual's life, on society as a whole. You can make a difference in your local community, and you can make a difference for the planet. You can make microscopic differences that change the course of humanity. It is awesome. So, just as an example that we're all familiar with, think about the development of the COVID vaccines. This marvel of science and technology and human ingenuity to be able to go from development of the vaccine to trial into people's arms on such a fast pace, that the involvement of STEM professionals at every stage made this possible, and it's saving lives, and it's bringing something in our world back to life. So really making a difference. So today you're going to hear from four different people with four different perspectives. You'll hear from a current student from the Florida Institute of Technology. Delaney will be first up. You'll hear from a faculty member in biomedical engineering at Case Western Reserve, Dustin Tyler. You'll hear from Shylee, an alumna of Wentworth Institute of Technology, and an interesting perspective she has. And then we'll wrap things up with one of my admission colleagues from Bucknell, Ben Kavanaugh. So as you listen to each of our panelists today, I hope that your mind will be inspired to ask questions. Please use that Q&A box. I'll be keeping an eye on the questions throughout the session. And then after we hear from each of our panelists, we'll be able to have a great Q&A session. So with that, I am going to turn things over to Delaney.
Hey everyone, my name is Delaney Lisco, and I am currently a senior biomedical engineering student at the Florida Institute of Technology. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about an awesome and very relevant project that I'm working on right now that's helping make a difference. So in the fall of 2019, I took a one-of-a-kind class that we have here called the Basics of Making. And in this class, I gained a lot of experience with different engineering skills. And then at the end of the semester, I worked with a group of students, each with different majors, to make an ultraviolet LED disinfection robot. And ultraviolet light, a really big topic now because of COVID, wasn't so much talked about back then, even just in 2019. So this project was very special to my professor, Dr. Brenner, because someone close to him had passed away from a hospital-acquired infection that happens more frequently than you would think. So our team did a lot of research on how UV light can prevent hospital-acquired infections from occurring as frequently as they do today. And then from there, we realized like the power of UV light and how it can really help people disinfect surfaces and air and water and make a really big impact in the cleaning world today. So when SARS-CoV-2 began the COVID-19 outbreak in the United States around mid-March, Dr. Brenner and 4 other people actually started a company out of this with its mission to develop cutting-edge UV technology to provide a healthier tool than chemical-based cleaning solutions. So the purpose of UV light is to supplement the current sanitization efforts to make cleaning more effective. So as a team, we developed a product that is very versatile and can be used in many different industries to help combat today's health issue. We decided to make it very versatile because we wanted everyone to be able to use it. So the device that we developed, you guys can see on the slide here in the middle picture, it's broken down into its expanded view. It has 16 high quality UV LEDs throughout the whole UV spectrum. Based on a ton of research we did, we found that that is the future of UV technology, using multiple wavelengths instead of just the one that you see today. So based on this research that we did, we were able to optimize our technology. Additionally, like the versatiles, that's what we call them because they are really versatile. They can be connected to expand the surface area. They can be attached with command strips to make it really easy to mount. We even made an industrial mounting system so that it could be put into more robust systems. And then Chemfree Solutions is currently working on more disinfection products to expand the capabilities of the versatile. So something really cool about this project is that is our senior design capstone project here at Florida Tech. So every student in the College of Engineering and Sciences has to complete that during their senior year. And ours was sponsored by this company that started this project for us. And our student team has been involved with every aspect of the design, from product design to development to manufacturing and assembly. And we've even had help from a lot of students around our campus that wanted to be involved in this project. So they reached out to us. In fact, my friend even heard me talking to another person about it one day, and he said, how can I get involved? And the next thing we knew, he was helping us with our biological testing studies in the lab. So it's really awesome to have a whole community here support our project and support our efforts and mission on our goal of helping people, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. And yeah, on this slide, you guys can see my team, my awesome team. We've been working together for a year and a half. We're all seniors this year. And then in the middle picture, that's our device that we developed. And then that's how you can mount it. So it's been such an incredible experience working with a team of diverse engineering students. We encompass 4 different majors at Florida Tech. So we put all of our engineering skills to good use to make a product that has potential to really help people around the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Delaney. Great, great stuff there, and really great to hear about how you've been able to really kind of sink your teeth in and make an impact as an undergraduate student. So next up is Dustin Tyler from Case Western Reserve.
Great, thanks, Bob. Yeah, so I'm a biomedical engineer here at Case Western Reserve University. I've been doing this for 30 years now. Just one little quick thing from my view. I love engineering, particularly biomedical engineering, because it's not just making widgets and things. I'm actually making stuff to make a difference. And, you know, I think of the biomedical idea as, you know, it's the mind of an engineer, but the heart of a physician. It's not, you know, we're thinking about humans at all parts and how we interact with them. It's been developed under biomedical. And actually, I think what I'm going to show you here in the next couple seconds is how it's going beyond just medicine, but to human and technology, which is really in many ways that, you know, we've thought about technology isolated. And where I'm really interested in STEM in the future is that technology is not isolated from the human in any way whatsoever. And that integration is advancing in many different ways. And so go ahead and switch the slides, Bob, to the next one. I'll just give a background, a little bit of what I do. Is there a slide before this? I think there's one before, or maybe it's after. I can't tell.
Let's see. Nope.
It might be hidden.
Oh, okay, maybe it's hidden.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I can talk about what it is. Basically the work that I do is I work on talking to the nervous system, and so I've done neural engineering for the entirety of my career. We're developing devices that talk to, in my case, the peripheral nervous system. I work with colleagues that are doing this, also connecting directly to the cortex of the brain. We've done this for things like spinal cord injury, for getting people to up and walk again. But in the last 10 years, I've been focusing on talking, basically putting devices into the body of people that have lost a limb and allowing them to feel their hand again, for example. And so what we've done is that people have a prosthetic device. We can place sensors on that fingertip of the prosthetic device, record the engineering data, right, the physical world around them, convert that to a electrical signal, a neural signal, put that into the person's peripheral nervous system, and then they feel that as though it's their hand. And I remember one of the first experiments we did with this, we put it in, we turned the system on for the first time, and our subject basically kind of looked a little quizzical at first, and he goes, "That's my thumb. I haven't felt my thumb since the accident." Now, he doesn't have a hand, he'd lost the hand. But he had this idea that he could feel his thumb. And that was early on with technology, and apparently these pictures aren't here. But one of the things that struck me, and I think this is where it's important about STEM and where we're heading in engineering, is that when I began this work, we kept thinking that the people would want a better prosthesis. They wanted to have a device that looked like their hand, functioned like their hand. And everybody we've ever talked to enroll in this program, when we ask them what they want, the first thing is not, they don't ever say anything about the physics of the hand and the mechanics. They always say one thing, and I've heard this everyone I've talked to: I want to hold my wife's hand. I want to hold my kid's hand. And what it really tells me is that technology is not about, to most people, it's not about technology. It's about how it connects them to the world and how it makes their lives better. And I think that's really important. And where we're extending this idea now is that one of our subjects, or all of them, when we ask them what it's like to use a prosthesis without sensation, without our system connecting directly between them and the system, they'll say something like, "It's a tool on the end of my arm," or "It's just a tool that I use." As soon as we turn that system on, they start to describe it as their hand using their hand. Even though it's still a prosthesis, they're using their hand because it feels like their hand. And then what the interesting thing about that, and you can go ahead to the next slide, Bob, the one that's actually there, is we can start to think about this. And this is where, from the faculty perspective, it's not a matter of which one product I can create, but what can I do to change the world? And ultimately, what I would encourage students out there looking for getting into STEM is, you know, I'm reminded of the statement Einstein made at one time of, you know, science is the way of describing what is, engineering is creating what has never been. And what I really like from the engineering perspective is saying, what can I take from what I know about science and create something new? And so we've been thinking about this idea with prosthetics, and while they can feel their hand, if I were to take that prosthetic device, which by the way is just a robotic system, I can put that anywhere in the world now, and I can take the data from that system and put it back into the individual. It still feels like their hand. And not only that, we can develop the technology. It's not just implanted in somebody that's lost a limb, but we can now create devices that may be like a glove that you would wear. It still feels like your hand wherever it is. What this does is starts to disconnect. It allows you to reach now thousands of miles long effectively, right? So now your arm could be across the country. You can touch something and do with it. And in fact, what it does is it moves us to ask deeper questions of like, if I can interact with any sort of device now, it changes the relationship from using technology, which we've done since the humans picked up the first rock, and everything we do, stones, phones, everything that we look at is using technology. But now because that technology becomes part of who we are, we can embed it and we can rethink about what we can do. And so we can create technology like, again, from the COVID, a healthcare avatar where a doctor can be in one place and then a robotic avatar of that person could be somewhere else with either in remote areas or in a COVID ward or something where you could directly interact with that person. Or in space, for example, we could have a robotic system in space where you can feel and touch what you're doing from the ground and work with that system. It allows us to extend beyond further and starts to ask the questions of what is reality ultimately? If I can create reality, you can feel it from somewhere. What is reality? And what does it mean to be human versus artificial intelligence and connect with technology? So obviously those are kind of small questions. We're not going to address them in the 5 minutes I have. But really from a faculty perspective, my goal is not to answer that question, but to push you towards an answer, to figure out what it means and how we can tie that together. And the last thing I want to finish with is that I think that while for a long time under education, engineering has become separate from humanities. But I think as we begin to look at technology and human in much more direct ways, we have to think about this in a much more impactful way. And the way we look at this here is, there's a technology part, which is how do we build it? But then we have to wrap that around the ethics of what should be built. Technology itself has no conscience, Kennedy's quote. So we have to say, well, what is the ethical version of it? If everything is good or bad, what is around it? Then how do we regulate and manage that? How do we transfer it into the world through an entrepreneurial development? And then how does it affect society, coming back to how do we build new technology? And I think what's interesting about the future to me in education engineering is that merged multidisciplinary perspective is far more important. So for me, technology is about human as much as it is about technology, the merger of those and understanding the relationship and then building a better society ultimately. And fundamentally, that's why I'm an engineer. How do I build a better society? And that's what I hope convince some of you or all of you want to do as well. And I'll leave it there. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Tyler. Really thought-provoking and really inspiring work to think about. Shylee, you are next up.
Hey everyone. So yeah, I'm Shylee. I'm a native New Yorker. I went to Wentworth. I studied math, and now I'm product manager at JP Morgan, and I'm also the co-founder of a nonprofit called the WIT Project. So Bob mentioned earlier, why someone might want to go into engineering, and one of those reasons might be financial security. And my parents both being immigrants, that was definitely top of mind for them. They came to this country to give me a life that they wouldn't have dreamed of or couldn't have dreamed of, and they definitely gave that to me. So in looking at schools, I was always really STEM inclined, really enjoyed math. And when Wentworth reached out about the applied math program, which at the time was very, very new, the department chair, Amanda, she was really awesome. She was really looking for people who had demonstrated interest in the space, but didn't really know how to apply it. And she created a community of people who were really diverse and represented all types of communities. And that was why I chose Wentworth. I felt like before I even got there, there were people that were like me that could share my experience in going through this new journey. So when I got to Wentworth, a key proponent of their program is that they have required co-ops, and co-ops are like internships, and they're experiences you have in between semesters where you go work somewhere and you apply the skills that you learn in the classroom. And during that time, I got to intern at research institutions like the Broad at MIT and Harvard, where I learned all about genomics and the applications of computer science in that space. And it really motivated me to go to grad school. And when I was at Yale, I learned that I was definitely interested in translating those skills that I was learning, but in a more, I guess, like real world way. And so, yeah, since graduating from Wentworth, I went to get my master's, and I joined this program at JP Morgan called Tech Connect, and that's where I started my career. And it's really no secret that tech is definitely not dominated by women or people of color. So I came in through this program. And the mission of the program is to solve this problem and to train people with untraditional backgrounds to become software engineers. So I didn't study computer science, and I learned how to code from the program. And that was the obvious takeaway, to teach people how to code and increase representation. But the more valuable and less talked about takeaway was this aspect of community. And that was a valuable lesson that I learned that has now stuck with me and inspired me to create the WIT project. And honestly, time and time again, I leaned on my peers in the community, who are also women and other people of color, who are some of my best friends, to really overcome obstacles that only people underrepresented in whatever communities you're a part of could face. And I really relied on them to get through a lot. So how are other people that were interested in STEM, who are underrepresented, getting through these obstacles? And these obstacles come about as early as middle school. You know, you hear a lot of people that who may identify as women that drop off in terms of interest in pursuing math and science. And Girls Who Code is a big organization that has left a huge impact on me, that has tried to fix that problem, but that kind of drops off after you leave high school. And this problem is definitely chronic. Once there aren't enough women and underrepresented minorities in STEM degrees in college, there are even fewer people becoming engineers professionally in finance and tech and whatnot. So, and that shows there's a 40% more likelihood that women in tech leave their careers than men. 22% of tech executives are female identifying, and only 9% of people working in tech are women of color. So I decided to run a Girls Who Code club in my local community with my sister, because she was really interested in robotics and wanted to get more involved with other people that were like her, who wanted to explore but didn't know how. And we created this really amazing community. We ran so many programs and events. And I was really worried about, you know, what happens to these girls once they go to college. And I brought this challenge, this problem, to one of my really close friends at JP Morgan, and we decided to do something about it. And in mid 2019, we started this nonprofit called the WIT Project. And what we do is we're embedding women into tech, specifically women of color, and tech into nonprofits. So during COVID, our program mentored 19 females from ethnically and economically diverse backgrounds. And what they did is they were able to take the tools that we gave them and create socially impactful tech solutions for other nonprofits in need. And so by helping these women from these communities, from the communities I'm a part of and beyond, to develop their skills while working on these change-making initiatives, we're really ensuring that this next generation of technology represents the many and not just the few. And we've enabled our fellows to realize that they're not alone, and that we're creating spaces that they can authentically be themselves. So I'm really proud to be a part of this, the STEM field, and be someone who is able to advocate for other people who are inspired to do something similar, and really help you understand that from the very beginning, as you become someone who's enthusiastic about STEM, you can do something very tangible to help other people. So yeah, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Shylee, and really, really impressive to be able to do your day job, which I'm sure is demanding and takes a lot of your time and energy, and then be able to work on a project that's so meaningful to so many. So next up is Ben Kavanaugh from Bucknell.
Yeah, no, thank you, Shylee, for what you have to say. My sister's a computer programmer with IBM, and she also didn't have a traditional kind of path, and she was lucky that she was also able to get into a program like that. And I think programs like that are so important, because I think too often we too narrowly focus and too narrowly target like who it is that should be involved in STEM, right? We too narrowly say, well, these are the people that should be involved, right? But I also think part of, and I work at a liberal arts institution that has engineering, and I think we try to look at engineering from a broader perspective, a big picture perspective, as something that's integrated into kind of the campus as a whole. I think when I hear about career opportunities, when I hear about kind of what our students are wanting to do, when I'm looking at career paths, something I always want to say, especially the engineering students, you know, your major is not your career. right? And that's confusing because often people are like, well, no, I'm majoring in electrical engineering because I want to become an electrical engineer. That seems kind of like counterintuitive. Like, why would you say that to me? And I think because life is interesting, life is complicated, life is multi-directional, life is fascinating, it's full of different opportunities. And I think part of what college should be about, part of what this collegiate experience should be about is thinking about the big picture ideas, thinking about the things that I'm studying. Will it lead to work that for me has meaning? Thinking about, well, what kinds of problems do I want to solve? What kind of impact do I want to make in the world? How do I picture myself 20 years from now? I think too often students think of curriculum just as courses they have to take, boxes they have to check, and not what are the purposes that we have in terms of assigning the classes. What are we hoping you get out of it? I think regardless of major, what we're hoping students get out of this experience, the development of skill sets that in fact can be used in a wide variety of fields and a wide variety of functions, but certainly in engineering. And I'm talking about ideas of critical thinking. I'm talking ideas of analysis, being able to think systemically, being able to ask questions, not just as an annoyance or as a protestation, but as a way of framing a question, right? To develop creativity, to look at new ways of solving problems. And then, of course, problem solving, developing as a team member, working collaboratively, inclusion, which is something I think is important and something that the field in general needs to work on, this idea of inclusion, right? It's not enough to have people at the dance. We must include them because the best work often comes from groups of people coming together who have different viewpoints, different ways of looking at things. And from that often finds a solution. Perseverance is incredibly important. So many engineering students have curiosity, which is key, but perseverance, working through the long hours, right? Often the solution is not going to come to you right away. Working under time and budgetary pressures. Because here's the secret. I know you may have watched Iron Man a few times. None of us have MCU money. None of us have Tony Stark money. So you're always going to have a project that doesn't have enough time, it seems, to do the work, and you're never going to have as much money or human resources as you want to do the work. But still the work must be done. Still the problem must be solved. And how do we solve it? And also learning how to observe, learning how to be adaptable. But most importantly, the skill that we want you to learn through all of this educational process is learning how to learn. Because, when you get into your career, you're going to learn new things. You're going to be teaching yourself new things. There's going to be new computer systems, new languages, new sciences in a sense. And I think what's interesting when you look at sort of career paths of people that, people may start off with specific engineering disciplines and something like mechanical, but may end up doing completely different work, completely opposite work. But again, I think these are the skill sets that are important to think about. Am I developing these when I'm in college? And if not, why not? Right? Because these are the things that you take with you. And these are the skill sets that are applicable, like I said, not just in engineering, but a wide variety of fields. Let me give you a quick example of how we're doing that here. I just came across this today. Can I share the screen? I have a very short video. It's a very short video that this is something that we're working on. These are big head rams. And it's a very short clip. I just wanted to show. It's fascinating to me. I mean, they're just chilling. These rams are just hanging out. And then all of a sudden they crash into each other at extremely high speed. And then they're just like, hey, we're just chill. We have a professor, a mechanical engineering professor that did his doctoral work at Colorado State, where these kinds of events are quite common. And he used his observational skills and he saw that and he thought, well, that's interesting. These rams aren't getting injured. Why is that? And then he had another question, which I think is probably more relevant for his work. is there some biological mechanism within the RAM that we can replicate for use in industry? One of the big challenges that we're trying to solve, right? One of the big problems is around concussions, right? The last 10 to 15 years, there's been a lot of research about the dangers of concussions. It was something we didn't treat seriously for many, many years. And now we're starting to treat it seriously. So I thought, is there a way that we can study this RAM and be able to replicate the way that it disperses energy without seeming to be injured, and use these products? So that's something that him and one of our students are working now. First, they're building like computer simulations of the rams crashing together. They got ram skulls from the state of Colorado, from the highway transportation folks, and now they're building like these 3D models of different rams. They're sort of trying to recreate the mechanism, and then the next step will come in actually trying to build things that maybe use this mechanism for industry. So the thing is, I guess the larger point I'm trying to make, you never know where inspiration is going to hit. You never know what's going to be the thing that's going to lead to your life work, right? It may be something you're studying in a class. It may be something you hear in a radio lab episode, or it may be observing 2 rams on the side of a highway, and that gives you a spark of an idea. So, the thing is, you never know where this inspiration is going to come in. And sometimes the best parts of this experience is just following that inspiration and seeing it where it may lead you. And it may end up leading you to a career outside of engineering as you try to expand upon these ideas. And that's okay. But I just thought, man, that's such a cool thing. But also, I think one of the great skills that's useful in STEP is being able to translate that work to people like myself who don't have the same background and experience, and get them excited about it, to see, no, this is really important stuff, guys. This is a game changer if we can actually figure out this mechanism. Because I think there's an enthusiasm gap with a lot of the work in terms of the general public that's happening in places like those represented here today in this presentation.
Excellent. Ben, thank you so much. I imagine our attendees today might not have realized that they would hear hear about a bighorn sheep, or actually get to see them collide with one another. So a little extra bonus for joining today's session. So at this point, we are. I have to share this with you because I put all the time into creating this rad slide. So there it is. So ask questions, be like Socrates. So with that, please do share your questions in the Q&A. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe I'll kind of get things started a little bit and ask our panelists, as you think about some of the ways in which undergraduate students are kind of just framing this question, how do I make a difference? What's the entree? Shylee, you talked a little bit about kind of being able to be involved in coding, and Ben, you talked a little bit about sort of maybe some of the academic coursework. But I wonder if maybe you could just comment a little bit on how students on your campuses begin to wrestle with some of these opportunities or ways that they might actually make an impact on the world. So I don't know if anyone has an example at the tip of your tongue. Delaney, you're on campus right now as an undergrad every day. Maybe you have something that's on your mind.
Yeah, definitely. I would say a lot of our students here are involved in research across campus, whether it's a professor's research or if they're helping a senior design capstone project. But it's really common because our teachers advertise their research every day. When you go to class and your teacher's talking about some of the awesome things that they're doing. I know for me personally, biomedical engineering, my teacher would talk about how to form, electrospun fibers and this method he created. And it's just fascinating. it's working towards regenerative medicine. So I know a lot of students are involved in projects where they're actually testing out different scaffolds and different types of collagen so that they can actually regenerate tissue easier. And that's, that's going to make huge impacts, and people love to get involved with that. Yeah, that's specifically in my major. That's an awesome research people are doing, but students all over campus here, because I am on campus now, they're constantly looking at new things.
Dustin, how do students approach you? Do they come with a big idea in mind, or how does that start for you?
Yeah, so I would actually say the following, and then into my answer, is that if your point is to go make a change in the world, and that's what you think about is like, how can I change the world? You're probably not going to do it. Rather, what I would say is, what are you passionate about, and see where you can apply it, and that's going to change the world, right? I mean, I think so many people get stuck up with the idea of wanting to change the world. That's their objective, and then that's going to get them stuck. Go do what you're passionate about. And that's how people connect with me. Ultimately, if I have somebody that writes me an email that loves the work we're doing and is passionate about being part of it, that's how you get engaged. Because I know that person's going to contribute to the lab one way or the other. Like Delaney was talking about, she gets excited. That's the number one thing for me. Because if you're excited, you're going to work through whatever's in the way. You're going to make this thing happen. And so that, to me, change the world by enjoying the heck out of what you're doing and just doing it.
Excellent. We had a question from the audience, kind of a broad question about advice for high schoolers. And I think, Shylee, you talked a little bit about sort of getting exposure to coding as a high schooler. What other advice would you give to a high schooler who's thinking about entering into this kind of general realm?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to answer this question, mainly because my sister, who I talked about earlier, she's a senior in high school right now, and I've been mentoring her for the last 4 years or so to kind of figure out, what her passions and ambitions are, just because nobody really asked me what that was for me when I was in high school. So I think something that we've come to learn from her experience is that there are so many organizations at high schools and like clubs and extracurricular activities that you can do to really discover what you are passionate about. And a lot of that kind of comes naturally through, doing what your friends are doing and seeing if that's something that, interests you or intrigues you. And there are so many programs outside of just, what's going on at school. Like you can volunteer at the library to help elderly people learn how to print things from Microsoft Word. Like that's a new program that my library is running right now. So there's so many different, very unique ways that you can get involved in your community. And from there, you can try and understand like who are you as a person? What role do you play in making your community better? And what does that say about, what your passions and ambitions are, and kind of aligning that to what you see yourself doing in college. But challenging yourself doesn't just mean challenging yourself in the classroom. And I really just want to make that super explicit. Some people feel like they have a better time exploring with other people. I know that was the case for me. Like, for example, I was really interested in STEM, but taking 1 million AP classes wasn't the best route for me. So I did science research because I could collaborate with people in the class to explore cool science problems like viscosity of water and oil, like crazy fun things like that. So get creative with it. Don't try to go the traditional route.
Excellent. Did you have something to add there, Dustin?
Yeah, I was just going to say, don't be afraid of doing things. And just to jump on with what Shylee said, you're never going to find the answer sitting on your couch playing Xbox, right? Get out and play in the world and figure out what you love. I know a lot of the high school, teenage year kids are waiting for the inspiration in the world to hit them. It won't. Go out and find it. It's there, and you'll find all kinds of stuff when you do it. So don't be afraid and engage. Those are the two things I just wanted to reemphasize from Shylee.
Yeah, I think there's a flip side as well. I think we often, I've been reading engineering applications here for 15 years. I think a lot of my colleagues they have almost an expectation at this point that if students are in STEM fields, that they should have some kind of science and research on their resume. It's nice to have. I don't think it's a requirement. I think what we should be trying to do is not erecting barriers, but trying to add diversity and inclusion by trying to remove them. And I think it's okay if you discover this later. It's okay if you weren't 6 years old when you decided you wanted to be an engineer. You know, it's okay that you were a senior and you're like, oh, this seems like really cool because now I get a sense of what it is. So, and you know, some of our students have to work part-time or they have other responsibilities. So don't fail to apply in STEM fields just because you think, well, I don't have this program, I don't have this research or this internship or this kind of thing. It's always nice to see. It sort of comforts us that students have a sense of what they're getting into, but you know, it's not required. I think also math and science preparation is important. You know, you want to take as much math as you can, but something I've seen in recent years, you know, students are rushing through math. It was uncommon years ago to see a student go from, say, pre-Cal to Cal BC, and now it's becoming very common. We're starting to see students going from Algebra 2 to Cal BC, and it's always confusing because many students, there's a drop in grades, but you're also going, well, why are you rushing through the math? These are things that you need to have pretty solidly under your belt, and our professors are always leery when they see students even take a math class during the summer. We get that students are often tracked, you know. At Bucknell, you can be admitted into engineering with pre-Cal. And we have students that attend schools that's the highest math they have available. And again, don't let that dissuade you. You may have to work a little harder, but we actually have a class for students whose highest math, a calculus class for students whose highest math is pre-Cal. So a lot of these things are great. They're fantastic if you have the opportunity, but don't not apply because you didn't have the same opportunities available to you.
Great, thank you. Good things to think about for sure. So another question that came from our audience is just you know, kind of when thinking about colleges, you talked a little about kind of applying in the application process and maybe some factors that might go into that. What do you think is important in deciding upon the type of college? Delaney, you're probably closest to this, and I know, Dustin, you went through this really recently with your daughter. What are some things that you would think about when, or would you would advise people to think about in kind of picking a school?
Yeah, I'd love to answer this one. It's been a little bit, but when I was thinking about going to a STEM university, class sizes and hands-on experience were two of the most important things that I was thinking about. I'm a very kinetic learner, and it takes doing it for me to get a full understanding. So I made sure to pick a university that would give me plenty of opportunities to be able to actually do it in a lab or in a classroom. And Florida Tech had that combination of hands-on experience, small class sizes, getting that almost one-on-one connection with a teacher is super important for me to expand my learning, to ask them questions, and kind of explore my interest in a certain area.
I'll just add, you know, not only from my daughter recently and my son starting, by the way, you know, I think that, and I see this, I talk to probably maybe 500 plus kids a year, 600, maybe even 1,000 that come to CASE looking at CASE. And what I'm amazed with, not so much in talking to them, but those that come and talk to me afterwards, is that there really is fundamentally a feeling you get at the university. Right. And so every student has a sort of a way they click to learn, a size they want. And there's no universal for the students that are, but when they come and they click to the university, it's like, this is where they're going to go, and you kind of know it. So I think there's some core level quality of the university you want, but you have to go visit. You have to see if it has that sort of feel that works for you. I know it sounds silly, but I've seen it so often, so many times. It's really important you click in the environment.
Excellent. Well, it looks like we're at right about at our time, and I see Christy joining us as well. So I just want to again thank the panel. You did a terrific job and really gave, I think, our audience a lot of really good things to think about on this front. And for our attendees, I hope that you come and join us and follow your passions here. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you for everyone who attended. As soon as you close this out, there will be a 4-question survey that will appear that helps us. And you can sign up again for more sessions, and a recording of this will be available on our website. Thank you again, panelists, for being here and sharing your expertise. And thanks to all the attendees, and good luck. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.